I never thought about posting here, but I have a story to share with you guys. Just, please, promise me that you're not going to laugh. Okay, there's not a lot I know about this situation, and I can't process anything. So if I have bad English, or grammar, anything else, I apologize. I'm shaking right now. I can hardly write as is, but here's a sentence to describe it to you. And it's not very good. So, you know those shows we like to watch on television? SpongeBob, The Amazing World of Gumball, others. Well, I'm bringing these shows up because these are examples of shows that you and I used to watch. Have you ever found anything weird, creepy about these shows? Admit it, you certainly did. I did too, but it wasn't as bad as others think, right? It was just for the comedic side of it. And aside from those shows, let's get to the story that I'm about to tell you all. Again, I'm sorry if I don't describe my thoughts and feelings about this. This show, plain and simple, just fills me with dread. Anyway, here goes nothing. In late November, I inherited a home and was in the process of clearing out what was left of the estate of my great aunt, who had passed away. This is when I stumbled upon a very odd DVD of an obscure show. The box was badly damaged, but the disc was in a seemingly perfect condition. The mystery had already piqued my interest, so I loaded it up in my DVD player to check it out. No problems with starting the DVD, except for a black screen that lasted for about half a minute. After about 30 seconds, the text, "Sammy the Cat," slowly rolled across the screen, followed by the year 2019 in a smaller font. This was dumbfounding, okay, because my great-aunt passed away in 2020, and we were only recently granted access to her estate. I'm told many of these DVDs were watched by a child that she would babysit when she still lived at home. She was at a nursing home from 2017 till her passing. Anyway, the show continues. After the title card, the screen quickly fades into white. The white fades into a shot of a lightly furnished, mostly empty room with a door to the left. Rather quickly, a large cat enters the frame. The cat is prominently white, but has black patches and spots. The screen was very blurry, so it's extremely hard to make out, but from my perspective, it appears to be a person in a cat costume. As it turns around, I notice the large cheeks, the googly eyes, and stitches on the front portion of his body. The odd proportions of the costume lead me to believe that maybe it was homemade. And after turning around, the cat proceeds to stare in the direction of the camera for what felt like minutes. Till again, the screen goes white, which lasts for a good minute. After a while of plain white screen, the costumed man is seen eating from a bowl. A bowl of what appears to be raw meat. The source is unknown. I'll leave it up to you to determine what the meat is. But after emptying the bowl, the man leaves the frame, only to return about 30 seconds later holding the head of a masked woman. The woman was silent and frozen, and I'd almost assume she was unconscious if not for her footsteps alongside him. The man leads her to the bedside and sits her down. He sits down next to her, until he eventually starts to shake. And the shakes start to get worse, more aggressive. The man is now slightly turned away from the woman and is once again sitting completely still. This must have lasted for a couple minutes until he reached back, grabbed the woman by the neck. And this is when the woman lets out a blood-curdling scream that is so loud that the camera audio struggles to even pick it up. The man covers his ears and starts yelling. The man stands up, also pulling her up involuntarily. The woman is dragged by her neck and then dropped. And by this point, my heart is racing. I'm confused and in shock at what I'm afraid I've found. This felt too real and unhinged to be some kind of indie film. But filled with dread, I continued to watch it unfold. And little did I know, however, that I would soon wish I'd turned it off. After dropping the woman, the man frantically runs through a door to the left side of the main room, perhaps a small closet, because his right leg is still sticking out, right? And when inside, he shuffles around for about 10 to 20 seconds until he suddenly turns around to reveal a long-barreled shotgun pointed directly toward the woman. The woman, still blindfolded, is sitting on the floor, unsettlingly silent. There is an overwhelming sense of hopelessness that flows through my body as I watch her exist, completely oblivious to what's pointed at her. She isn't allowed to see it coming. And after standing for a moment, the man lowers the gun and casually walks over to the camera, turning it off. The screen goes dark. And that is the last of the contents of the DVD. The woman was presumably killed in this scene, because I heard a gunshot during it, and what followed was the blood-curdling scream of the woman. The show then ended. And after the show ended, after a few days of boredom, hesitation, and a combination of just realizing what it is I had witnessed, I decided to report the disc to the local police department. They took it for evidence, but I'd be lying if I said that I'd heard anything back. I became concerned about what had happened to the woman, and I would prefer the closure of knowing rather than the uneasy ignorance that I've been living in for the past few weeks. I've been terrified of something I hoped wasn't true, but afraid it might be. It was eating me alive. So yesterday, I decided to reach back into the box where I found the original disc because I knew I hadn't looked very thoroughly the first time. After anxiously sifting for about 30 seconds, a convulsive shock was delivered through my entire body when I saw it. To my dismay, I spotted yet another unlabeled, damaged disc container sitting along the border of the box. I couldn't bring myself to touch it, much less open it, and ever since then I've been feeling uneasy. I've thought about disposing of it so that I don't have to deal with it, but I don't want to get rid of something that may potentially be the solution to a case, you know? This disc was more than I thought. Without hesitation, I grabbed the DVD and inserted the disc. I was hoping for more evidence, and these were the events that occurred after the first disc. The disc was broken, but somehow started with the cat again. And he was talking to a 5-year-old boy, He asked the boy to follow him to the same blender that was in the previous disc, and he picked up the boy and turned him into a smoothie. And the cat came back to his closet and put the long-barreled shotgun into the closet, letting out a huge sigh as though he regretted what he'd done. And the entire thing was cut. Okay, the DVD just ends. I started questioning this show, and the fact that this man didn't even put it in the nearby shop for DVDs, except for my great-aunt's house that I inherited. Like, this is the only existence of it. I mean, I can understand why. It seems very unrealistic for some anonymous person to put their snuff film in a public store for others to watch. Sure. I turned off the DVD, took it out of my player, and reported it to the police department again. I shared some more evidence with them, and that I have many questions after sharing it. This is up to you, the reader, the listener, to answer. Because I don't know. Who was the man in the cat costume? Is the man related to my great aunt? And why did he kill people? I will allow you to figure it out. As for the second DVD, again, I ended up reporting it to the police as well. Upon again visiting the police department, I found out he was already serving time in prison on unrelated charges. They are now investigating the contents of the second DVD of the show. I feared for my life at that point. I had never seen anything unexplainable and weird until now, and to this day, a feeling of dread is always coming over me. I feel like I did something wrong. When I tell people about this moment, they always give me strange looks. You know, they keep assuming that I had a bad nightmare when I didn't. This should have been prevented. But due to my curiosity, I wanted to watch the show because I wanted to know what it was. I'm now feeling guilty for what just happened, even though I know deep down I didn't do anything wrong. The show stays on my mind when I try to sleep. And as I was trying to go to sleep, I started dreaming. Seemed normal at first. I'm sitting in my chair. My living room is decently furnished, and my TV is running in complete static. When the static ends after what seems like minutes, the old Warner Brothers logo flashes on the screen, revealing the text, Sammy the Cat. I knew how this was going to go, but I don't recall seeing Warner Brothers at the beginning. Was this made by Warner Brothers? A lost show, perhaps? I don't know. I continued watching. The episode stared at me. Just the camera pressed against Sammy's face with that giant fake smile, and what I could make out was that there were finger holes where the eyes were. The thing I never heard from Sammy was his voice. Until now. Hello there. I would like to talk. His voice was cheerful, deep, and loud, and it sounded like he was old. He spoke out to me. I tried moving, and, you know, when you have those dreams where you can't move at all, it was like that. He said some sentences that broke my heart. Your great aunt deserved to die. I loved her. And she left me. When she left me, I was broke. That's why I tried to make my own show to get my money back. The voice was getting closer from the screen, and it almost sounded like he was whispering in my ear. I began to get chills. I could hold back tears as best I could. Sammy saw me holding back tears. The camera zoomed in on what appeared to be a shotgun in his hand. I eventually stopped tearing up too, looking blankly at the shotgun, my eyes now shaking. Sammy pulled the trigger, the bullet hitting the camera, possibly the cameraman too, as I heard a blood-curdling scream and saw drops of blood, with the camera now glitching from the impact. The television turned off, and I heard an aggressive knock at the door beside me. I had nowhere to go. I accepted my fate. Sammy barged into the room holding a sledgehammer. The cat ran towards me and struck me with it. I was unconscious. When I finally woke up from the nightmare, I was just happy that I was alive and well. No bruises or anything. I got the idea to call Warner Brothers. I saw the logo on my TV during the nightmare and thought that it couldn't be a coincidence. I dialed the company and asked customer service if they ever had a show by the name of Sammy the Cat, or anything related to that name. I was met by an unexpected response. They said yes, much to my shock. The guy who played Sammy was friends with the people behind Warner Brothers, commonly known to some people as the Warners. The show was in the works, but the workers noticed that the man was upset about something during filming, and they ended production with Sammy the Cat entirely. Unbeknownst to them, Sammy's actor was actually suffering from schizophrenia, anxiety, depression. If I'm being honest, I kind of feel bad for him, despite the fact that he was a serial killer. But the fact that he was suffering from that makes me pleased that he's in jail now. The company even told me that some of the crew members rumored that he was responsible for the 4 Warners' deaths. I want you to keep in mind something. Hypothetically, you call the company and ask them about Sammy the Cat and any respective info, okay? They will try to hide the truth, saying, no, they don't have a show called that. I have the truth now. After the call, we hung up. And please, for the company's sake, don't call them and ask them about this show. If you're wondering how I'm doing right now, I'm feeling down as a person. Okay, I already have depression and anxiety about things, but I do not have schizophrenia. Nothing's gonna happen. But regardless of it all, I want to thank you for reading and listening about my experience. I wanted to get my story out there somewhere, but above all, I just want you all to be careful and think before you watch this. If you want to watch these things, do so at your own risk.